Hi, I'm Enass Mahmoud, an interior designer, and welcome to our design community. When it comes to decorating small living rooms, it can be quite challenging. Whether it's trying to find enough storage solutions, trying to fit everything into your space, or trying to come up with a colour scheme that's both stylish and comfortable. Not to worry, I'm here today to share with you my top expert tips. By the end of this video, you'll have actionable ideas on how to transform your small living room into space that's beautiful and inviting for your guests. When it comes to designing a small living room, the most crucial element is to figure out how you plan on using that space. For example, are you planning on entertaining quite a lot? Is it a room just for you and your family? All of this will dictate your color scheme, the furniture that you use, and the amount of furniture that you include in the space. Now, before you go out and start buying all your furniture and cushions and art, sit down and figure out the colors you want to see in your small living room. Whether you want a cocoon and warm and cozy feeling in your living room, then maybe go for darker colors. You could do things like this, for instance, which are very sophisticated and rich. But actually, if you do want to include a more neutral palette, I would suggest to shy away from the clinically white colors, as this can make a small living room feel very cold and bare. Instead, go for things that have a greenish undertone or a yellow undertone, just like these three colors here. This will help your space feel a bit more warm and cozy, and not to forget to also include the paint on your ceilings as well, as this will give the illusion of height. After selecting your color scheme, it's really important to think about the proportion of each color that you want to include in your space. If you've selected a dark indigo, a burnt orange, and some creams, where do you want to see the orange? Do you want to see it on the sofa, a cushion, curtain, or your rug? Do you want to see the dark indigo as a backdrop or in accessories? It's really important to figure out the proportion of color to create a balance in the space. For instance, this could be a lovely backdrop. It could be the colors to your walls and to your ceiling. And then you can brighten it up with a beautiful rustic burnt orange that you could see on your sofa. And then pair it with a cream for your curtains or your blinds and potentially cushions. So, as I said, you have to select the color schemes that you like. Once you've selected that, what is the proportion? That will dictate the decorating and the styling of your space. Creating a focal point in a small living room is crucial. This helps to add depth to a space without overwhelming it. For instance, it could be a fireplace, a beautiful piece of artwork, it could be a lovely window. You want to make sure that you base your furniture layout around this focal point. This way it creates the illusion of length and height in the space, especially if your eye is wandering towards that specific focal point. It's really important to have a focal point in a small living room, as it draws attention to that specific space, making the room feel more organized and less cluttered. Designing a small living room does not necessarily mean you need to compromise on your style. Whilst a minimalistic look can be more approachable and easier to deal with in a small living room, you could also choose to embrace a maximalist style. You just have to be a bit more strategic with how you design. Although maximalism encourages abundance, it's very important to not overcrowd a small living room. You want to start off with a really rich base and color scheme. So for example, a textured wallpaper that has layers of colors will go really well as a backdrop. And then you layer that on with really rich fabrics, such as this color right here, which could be a great base for a sofa or some cushions or blinds. And then you want to mix and match with other patterns and textures. Maximalism is all about adding layers of texture and color and pattern that all complement each other, and then mix match with antique furniture, artwork, and accessories. Everything that displays your personality. If a contemporary and modern look is more your style, then you want to look at a neutral color palette, such as creams, beiges, browns. It also means that you want to add in more warmer materials such as wood, leather and brass. All of this adds a bit more depth and sophistication to a smaller living room. When it comes to furniture, you want to avoid bulky pieces. Opt for things that are a lot more cleaner in lines and have a sleeker silhouette. This will help when it comes to decorating your small living room. With smaller living rooms, you want to maximize the space as much as you possibly can. This means you want to opt for furniture that also doubles up as storage. For example, an ottoman or a footstool. Not only will it be a beautiful piece to have in a living space, but it's also a hidden compartment that allows you to store your blankets, your extra cushions, if you have any toys lying around. This will make a small living space feel more organized and less cluttered. You don't have to spend a fortune when decorating a small living room. You just have to remember that it's quality over quantity. This means that you want to maybe invest a bit more in pieces that you'll be using every day and your key items such as armchairs, sofas and rugs. You also might want to consider reinventing items that you already have. For example, if you have an armchair that you really love, why not reupholster it in a beautiful fabric? Not only does that give it new character, it adds a dramatic change to your living room. You'd be very surprised in what you can do with items that you already have. The space around your furniture is just as important as the furniture itself, especially in a small living room. You want to make sure that how you arrange your furniture allows for better flow and a more cohesive environment. This goes back to my previous point about how you intend to use the space. For example, if you plan on entertaining quite a lot, then you might want to arrange the furniture in a way that allows conversation. Alternatively, if you intend the space to be a room where you want to relax with your family and friends, then you could arrange the furniture facing a focal point such as a TV. Arranging furniture in an open plan space is very crucial. A lot of us tend to have one-bedroom apartments or studio apartments and can sometimes feel overwhelmed at how to make the space feel cohesive. So it's super important to create zones. For instance, if you have a living room that also opens up into a kitchen and dining, you want to make sure that you separate each space. Strategically, this can be done with the furniture that you use. For example, if you have 2 armchairs, you want to make sure that the back of these armchairs are facing the kitchen and dining. This automatically creates an invisible line for your living space. Another good point is to consider the use of rugs. You want to make sure you have a rug that's large enough to fit all your living room furniture on. This automatically creates a zone for your living room space. It's super important to buy furniture that fits your space, specifically for a smaller living room. You want to make sure that your sofa is in proportion to the rest of your pieces, such as your rugs and your armchairs, but also you don't want to overcrowd your space. This can disrupt the functionality and the flow of the room. Ideally, you want to measure the furniture before you go out and buy it. A good tip is to tape the dimensions of the furniture onto your floor. Then take a step back and look around. Can you easily maneuver around the pieces, or do you need to opt for smaller items? Properly scaled furniture not only enhances the room, but it makes the space feel more open and practical to use. Ever notice how a living room can sometimes feel unfinished? This is because we sometimes neglect the walls. We put so much focus on the furniture and the flooring that we don't give much attention to the walls. Bare walls in a small living room can make the space feel very cold and uninviting. Your walls can both be functional and beautiful. Especially for a small living room, you want to make use of the wall. So you could include things like wall-mounted console tables, floating shelves, built-in cabinets. This is a great way to display your books and your accessories and personal photo frames without overcrowding the space. Aside from functionality, why not dress up your walls, for instance, in a textured wallpaper? This is a great base to add your mirrors and your artwork and maybe some wall lights. This gives the illusion of the space being much bigger, which is really important for a small living room. Not only does it bounce light across the room, it's a great way to add more depth and dimension to the space. So it could also be something that's quite decorative and artistic. It can be awkward in its shape and its style. This is a great way to add more character to your living room. To emphasize a unique feature in your living room, consider using a mirror placed opposite that feature. For example, if you have a beautiful artwork, placing the mirror opposite that piece of art adds a sense of depth and dimension and another layer of interest in that living room. With smaller living rooms, we often have awkward spaces. Don't shy away from it, instead lean into it. For example, if you have an awkward window bay, make use of that space, turning it into a reading nook, which not only doubles up as storage and extra seating, but you can use that to introduce beautiful layers of fabric and pattern to your living room. Also, if you have an alcove, this is a great way to add artwork, to add some wall cabinets, whether it's built in or not. This is perfect for maximizing space in a small living room. Incorporating nature in an intimate living room is a great way to add a sense of serenity and peace. The great thing with decorating with plants is they're not a permanent fixture. You can mix and match, change the colors around depending on the season or the occasion. You can go bold or big, small, short, colorful or plain. It doesn't matter. There's a variety of plants that you can select that will be perfect for your aesthetics. Lighting plays a huge part when decorating a small living room, especially if you don't have a lot of natural light. You want to make sure you have a number of lighting options in that space. For example, table lamps, floor lamps, wall lamps. These are all key in making the space feel more open and more spacious. Don't forget that the lights should be placed across the room, not in one specific area. You want to make sure that the light bounces from every single corner of your living room. This gives it that sophisticated and warm environment that most living rooms should be. As mentioned previously, it's really important to get a rug that fits your living room. You want to make sure it's not too small, but big enough to fit the front legs of all your furniture. Rugs can be either a statement piece where it has a lot of color, pattern, texture and prints, or it can be something that's quite pared back and ties in with the rest of the color scheme in your living room. If you decide to use a darker color on your walls, then balance it out with a brighter and lighter color on the floor. To use curtains effectively in a small living room, you want to make sure that you hang them as high as you possibly can. Sometimes you can even add a track to the ceiling. This gives the illusion of height. Now, you also want to make sure that the drop of the curtains are only a few inches off the floor. If you want to have a cocoon and cozy environment, you could also go for darker curtains or window treatments. So for instance, you could have something that has a lot of color and texture in it, or you can go for something that has a bit more of an embossed feel. This adds another layer of pattern to your space. If you prefer a more neutral color palette, then you can always opt for a beautiful linen fabric that allows more natural light into your living room. While decluttering seems very simple and easy to do, it's actually essential when designing a small living room. There's no point in adding all these beautiful ornaments and design choices if your space is just going to feel overcrowded and cluttered from all the items you have out. If you're thinking about what to throw and what to keep, have a look around. What do you normally use? What have you picked up in the last 6 months? If it's something that you don't really pay enough attention to, then it's time to throw it away. Simple habits like organizing your items and using smart storage solutions are great ways to create an open and tidy environment. A tidier space makes the room feel more larger and comfortable, enhancing both style and functionality. For extra resources, including mood boards and more, see the links in the description below. I hope you found value in the tips that I've shared with you today. Comment below if you have any more questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe to find out how to improve other parts of your home.